This program is intended for informational purposes only and does not contain medical advice. As always, please contact your physician or qualified healthcare provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Welcome to Hot and Bothered. I'm your host, Melyssa Ford. This is the space where we get real about sexual health, wellness, relationships, and all the life-affirming conversations that remind us what it means to live fully and authentically. Nothing is off limits. Everything is on the table. So let's dive in. Today on Hot and Bothered, I'm joined by a man who's never been afraid to disrupt the conversation, Charlamagne Tha God. You know him as 1/3 of The Breakfast Club, one of the most influential radio shows in the world. But that's just the beginning of his impact. Charlamagne has evolved from polarizing provocateur to a powerful voice in culture and politics, using his platform to amplify conversations around mental health, accountability, and Black empowerment. He's also a savvy businessman with a growing media empire under his Black Effect podcast network, amplifying diverse voices and reshaping what ownership looks like in entertainment. And if that weren't enough, he's a New York Times best-selling author with books like Black Privilege, Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It, Shook One, Anxiety Playing Tricks on Me, and his most recent Get Honest or Die Lying. They blend brutal honesty with hard-won wisdom. In this conversation, we're gonna go beyond the headlines and hot takes. We talk about growth, grace, and the evolution of a man who's built his brand on truth-telling, even when that truth gets uncomfortable. From political commentary to personal introspection, Charlamagne Tha God proves that reinvention isn't about changing who you are, it's about owning every version of yourself.
The people that were coming to me saying, yo, I deal with anxiety, I deal with bouts of depression. You know, my father, and he was like, I was going to therapy. I've been on 10 to 12 different medications for my mental health, and I tried to commit suicide. Every single thing comes to the surface. You start questioning all types of stuff, but then you start getting answers, like in the moment.
I thought that I was gonna go to a shaman's village in Peru in 2018. Yeah, I'm gonna go do like ayahuasca. And I look back at how casually I was talking about going to do this very major thing and how much respect I have for it now.
Even now, that seems strange to me when people are like, yo, I'm not gonna talk to none of my family members because they voted for Trump. If we literally had to wear these glasses that say, this person's a Republican, this person's a Democrat, so I'm not gonna deal with them because of it, we probably wouldn't even be able to function as a society.
Within the last, I would say 5 years, you really leaned into, for lack of a better phrase, becoming a political pundit. Actually, USA Today called you a political wrecking ball. Do you agree with that? I'm so nervous. Isn't this crazy? Huh?
Why?
Because you're you. And like I was just saying, the craziest part is that we've known each other for 20 years.
A long time, yes.
We literally met when you were still with Wendy Williams, not being paid. That
is a fact.
Yeah.
You had the stage play when Vixens consider.
Nope, it was before that.
Before that?
It was before that.
Oh,
it was,
shoot.
Okay, so you guys are gonna get a little bit of a history lesson as to how we met, and I'm actually going to remind him. So it was in 2006, me and Daytwan came to Wendy's show because we were promoting the 5th anniversary of King. So there was 5 covers. There was myself, Maya, Reagan Gomez, Buffy the Body, and Trina. So there's 5 of us, but I was the only one that was there.
Okay.
So I walked in and I looked something similar to this. I think I even had glasses on at the time, but at the time those were fake. I didn't need them. Now I can't see, but you kept staring at me, like with your brow furrowed. And by this time I was already a pro with Wendy. I'd already done at least 1 or 2 interviews with her, so she didn't scare me anymore. You terrified me. You had already earned a reputation for being so frightening. And it goes back to the book because you really have never liked small talk.
No.
You just get straight to the point. And you looked at me and you were like, why are you dressed as a school teacher? And I was like, well, what did you expect? That I was going to roll up in here in a bikini?
At that time, probably, yes. That's probably what I was expecting.
That is exactly, and you said, yeah. And I said, you do know that that is a character that I play. And you just looked at me like I just, that you had never conceptualized that.
Never thought about it.
Yeah.
No, but it's not until you sit down and have a conversation with somebody and you be like, oh, there's a lot more to, the Jessica Rabbit of it all.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they used to call you back in the day, Jessica Rabbit, right?
Yeah. We were just talking about nicknames like 2 seconds ago, and Machine Gun Melly is my favorite nickname, and you've religiously called me that ever since you found out about that. But
so when was the stage play? Because I remember doing the stage play with Vixens.
The stage play was 2010, I want to say. So we'd already known each other for 4 years. So our friendship is literally almost 20 years long.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, salute to J. Kyle. I remember that. That was a dope play, by the way.
Wasn't it though?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, hold on 1 second. This isn't even about me. Okay.
But no, that was a dope stage play. Just the whole concept of it. I remember there was like caskets on the stage and all types.
The stage play that Char is referring to was called When Vixens
Consider Homicide.
When Vixens Consider Homicide,
Yes.
When the Video is Too Much.
Yes.
And it was a play on the whole when colored girls consider suicide, et cetera, and it was just a fictionalized tale of a girl who wanted to become a music video model because she had, dreams of stardom and that sort of thing. And then she comes to the big bad city and she finds out that all that glitters isn't gold.
I feel like you was one of the first people to tell that story, though, to let everybody know it's not all glitz and glamour, being in that position.
Yeah.
I think so anyway.
I always tried to take the shine off of the idea of fame and stardom because once you get in it, you understand that it's just not all it's cracked up to be.
Absolutely.
There's so much that goes along with it. I mean, so much in terms of just, people that you have to carry because they start looking at you as an extension of them and your bank account as an extension of their bank account.
Right. That's
and
right.
So they need you to fund their lives. And this is not even just friends. This is also family. There's the fact that people can just make up anything that they want to say about you, especially in this day and age. They can, and you talked about that in the book, how people can, and it added to your anxiety, how people can just make up lies and say them with complete and total conviction.
That's right.
To where you even struggle to believe, like, did that actually happen?
Absolutely.
And then you sit around and you're looking at all the material things that you've accomplished or, that you've accumulated. And you're like, this isn't making me happy. And I thought at one point that it was. And then you have like that whole dark night of the soul, however long that can last. It's a lot.
Are you happy now?
I am through the roof, over the moon.
I see that.
Happy.
Especially when I watch Hot and Bothered, like I can see that. I'm like, okay, she's in her element.
It's my impact work. It's my impact work. And it makes me feel really, really good, especially when I see the response from audience members who feel like one particular episode, guest, or topic really touched them, or they felt, related to in a way that they had never experienced before. And it's very, very impactful. And I know that you're probably at a point in your life where you feel that way, like these books have contributed to that, especially Shook One. So we're getting all over the place and you're trying to interview me and stop it.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm just sitting here catching up. That's all.
I know we haven't talked in a minute. We haven't like really, really talked. Me and him used to just like end up at Houston's all the time. Sitting at the bar, eating sushi, catching up and stuff like that. But then life starts to
life's, but I always say that, the people that you're actually really connected to. Like I don't ever worry about like, oh, that's not my people, or oh, that's not the homie. Like when we see each other, we'll catch up.
Yeah. But I am very happy for you. Just in so many ways. I was breezing through the book, on Audible, easier. And I love listening to you talk. Sometimes when somebody writes a book and then they want to narrate it, they should get somebody else to do it. They just don't have the, syntax, diction, whatever. It's just not an easy listen. But yours is. We're so used to hearing your voice, and so there's several chapters that kind of like pop out. But the first one that I want to talk about, just because this subject is so near and dear to my heart, and I think a lot of people's hearts, is Tree Hug the Block.
Yes. Yes.
I loved that chapter. So in that chapter, Shar talks a lot about the healing and the sense of calm that being in nature gives you, and how being raised in rural South Carolina, this was
That's
just
right.
the norm for you. And it wasn't until you, I guess, moved to a more urban setting that you started to really, really feel like a high level of anxiety, because you were no longer in that, comfortable, natural kind of setting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a tree hugger for years.
Really?
I have.
I didn't start hugging trees till like 2019, 20.
And Yachty, 2020, because Yachty told
Yachty
you to
Alba,
go
yep.
and hug a tree because you were having difficulty with Jazz's passing.
Yeah, she told me face down, up. That's literally what she said. She go face down, up, go lay out in your backyard. Like straight up. She was like face down. She was like, take your shirt off, let your stomach touch the ground, face down, up, and just put your head to the ground, put your cheek to the ground, and just lay there for a second.
So that's grounding and earthing.
Yes.
But in addition to the hugging trees, my first experience really kind of actually doing that was when I went to Sequoia National Park when I was living in California.
Ooh.
And that's where the big, massive sequoias and redwoods are. And when you're going up the hill and stuff like that, the energy just changes, and also all of those trees are one organism through a root system underneath. They're all connected, just hundreds and thousands of square miles of trees.
So you can feel the energy.
I literally started getting emotional and crying on the car ride, getting closer to the trees, and I was like, what is happening to me? And then once I got there, I totally started to understand, and tree hugging became like a practice for me. I just never really talked about it because it seemed a little weird. So I was glad that you talked a lot about how that's been a part of your own healing journey.
Yeah, it's just about, helping you return to center. Like, I started meditating in 2020 as well. I was in Mexico. I was in Cabo with my good sister, Debbie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's the one who really taught me how to meditate, like, giving me the beads and, counting my beads and doing my mantra. And it was just those practices like that just allow you to get back to center whenever you're having, one of those episodes, whether that episode is an anxiety attack, whether that episode is, a brief bout of depression. Like, a lot of times when we're having these brief bouts of depression, folks want to run to go pour themselves a drink, or, they might, roll up some weed or something. Not saying I still don't do that, you know what I mean? But I do that for recreational purposes. But like those are the things when it's summertime, springtime, and just go outside, take your shoes off, walk barefoot through the grass, you know what I mean? Like go put your forehead up against the tree, go lean your back up against the tree. And I started thinking about, growing up in South Carolina, and I would have panic attacks in South Carolina. I just didn't know what those panic attacks were. Mm-hmm. But I think that it was easy to return back to center and get grounded because we were running around outside all day. Mm-hmm. Like, we was walking around, barefoot, running through the grass, or, walking on the dirt road, or just breathing fresh air, playing in the woods. Like, so I felt like, to get back to center, to ground yourself, just, go out in nature. Like I'm a Cancer, so I'm a water sign. So I love being on the beach, like, being in the water. Like, I don't think there's no closer connection to God than when you're sitting in the water and you looking up at the sun and you praying. I feel like when you pray from the water to the sun, like your prayers get answered. You
are speaking to Scorpio, so we're water signs. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. Speaking of Jazz, who was a very good friend to you, I knew her very intimately as well. And her death was about maybe less than 3 weeks after my mom's passing.
Wow.
In 2020.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And it like you, it jarred me. Mm-hmm. It jarred me because she took her own life. And also in the book, you refer to your cousin, he completed suicide. I've never heard that term used before. So I wanted to circle back on that.
Well, that came from Shanti Dawes. Shanti Dawes, she has a great mental health organization called Silence the Shame. Mm-hmm. And, she said that. She says completed, suicide.
Yeah, after 4 attempts, your cousin.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to put it, just because there's so much stigma and so much judgment rooted around the whole concept
Absolutely.
of taking one's life. But Jazz was particularly hard to fathom just because of the whole idea of fame and fortune and riches and recognition and validation and all of the things that we seek.
And she was just getting started too.
She was just getting started, but her start was pretty freaking incredible. She was an Emmy Award winning writer on one of the biggest shows, This Is Us, on one of the biggest networks.
She just wrote the movie for Will Packer and Taraji P. Henson. What was it, What Men Want?
What Men Want, yep. She was also working on Showtime's TV show with Jim Carrey, Kidding.
Yep, she had wrote Kidding. She wrote, she had helped ghost, I don't know if it's considered ghostwriting, but she wrote on some of Jay Prince's book. And she wrote on, what's the brother's name? Man, I can't remember his name. He was like the relationship guru. I can't remember his name right now. But she helped to write
Rob Hill Sr.? Nope.
I think it was Rob Hill Sr.
Damn. Okay, Mel. Hey.
I could be wrong. I think it is. I thought it was. I think it is Rob Hill Sr. Yes, she helped to ghostwrite on that. So I mean, she was cooking. She was definitely cooking.
It seems like 2020 was the culmination of a lot of things for you in terms of recognition of what your emotional and mental and spiritual needs were, the ability to articulate your needs and what they were and follow through with action. Like, why was it the pandemic that basically was a catalyst?
Actually, before, I started going to therapy in 2015, 2016. And I think my first book, Black Privilege, came out in 2017. So I was even in therapy before I even released my first book. And that's why it was so easy to write that first book, because a lot of that stuff I was talking about in my first book, I was already having conversations about in therapy. So it was easier to just explain my life up until that point. That's why the way the book is structured, it's 7 lessons that I learned in my life, and I use my historical context of my life to reinforce those lessons. It's written like how 48 Laws of Power would be written, or a Ryan Holiday book like Ego is the Enemy. But if you read their books use a lot of just historical context around the world. I'm not that smart, so I can only use my my background and my story. And so by the time 2018 came around, I put out Shook One, not even on purpose. It was just that the first book did so well. My agent was hitting me up like, yo, you've been on the New York Times bestsellers list for 20 weeks. Simon & Schuster, they want another book. Do you have anything? And she not even realizing I'm been going to therapy for the last, year and a half. So, you know how it is when you start going to therapy, you go for one thing, like you go to deal with your anxiety, you go to deal with your depression. Next thing you know, you peeling back all of these layers of trauma that you didn't even know, existed. And you just feel like an empty cup because everything that you thought you knew, you realizing like, yo, I didn't know nothing. Like none of that even serves me anymore. So you just like raw vessel. And I was like, yo, I don't have anything. It seemed since me and my book agent, have such a great relationship. Her name is Jan Miller. I just told her the truth, and I said, man, I've been going to therapy, and there's a bunch of stuff that I thought I knew I don't know anymore. I'm unlearning a lot of things, and I remember saying to her, but I have been keeping a journal of all of the things that I've been explaining, in therapy, things that I've been talking about in therapy, and I sent her a couple of the pages, and she was just like, yo, this is incredible. Like if you ever wanted to share it, not pushing me to share, but if you ever wanted to share it. And I remember saying to her like, nah, that wouldn't feel right because I'm not any type of mental health expert. I'm just a person sharing my experiences. And she was like, well, what if we got a doctor and the doctor came and gave like the clinical, correlations to the things that the experiences you're talking about. And then maybe that could be something. And so I thought about it and then, put some stuff together and, we got my man, Dr. Ish Major, and Dr. Ish sent us some stuff back on how it would look, and I was like, all right, this could work. And so it was one of those books that I did and put out, but then you don't realize like, okay, now you got to go out here and promote this book, right?
What was that like?
Oh my God. I wasn't really ready to have those conversations, but then I'm a sink or swim type person, right? I'm like, I'm already here. I've already put it all out in the book. There's no need to come in here and, lie about anything. And so it's just like, I was just telling my truth. So a lot of those experiences, I would literally be backstage doing breathing exercises and, palms sweating like, oh my God, like I'm about to go out here and have these conversations. But what made me feel very confident and comfortable to have those conversations.
Right.
The village that was created from that book. The people that were coming to me saying, yo, I deal with anxiety. I deal with bouts of depression. I've been going to therapy. You know, my father, you know, telling me on the week of Thanksgiving 2018, literally saying to me, like, you know, I just read your book. You know, your cousin completed suicide. It was all in the same week. And he was like, you know, I was going to therapy, you know, 2 and 3 times a week. And, you know, I've been on 10 to 12 different medications for my mental health. And I tried to commit suicide, you know, 25, 30 years ago, you know, but I didn't because of, you know, you and your older sister. So when he told me all of that, I was just like.
This was all revolutionary, like revelatory information to you.
I didn't
You
know
didn't know anything.
Nothing.
It's amazing what
Nothing.
we don't think to ask our parents because we don't think it's our place to do so.
Mhm.
But then once we become adults, that mode of thinking never kind of removes itself, but it behooves us to start to ask our parents more questions as to who they were before we came along and how they were functioning as, you know, as our parents, but also as human beings that are quite flawed.
It's one of the most important things that you can do is have conversations with your parents, because you'll realize that they had a life way before you even existed. And I mean, even my father just telling me that, it helped me to give him so much grace. Because, you know, I was in therapy thinking that I was very pissed off at him for other reasons, right? Like one of the first real breakthroughs I had in therapy was realizing like, damn, my dad used to discipline me for things that he never taught me. But then I realized, oh, that's why he wasn't able to teach me these things, because he was going through his own, you know, episodes. He had his own traumas he hadn't dealt with. So when he explained that to me, it just allowed me to give him so much grace. And I could feel the release, like literally in that moment, you know, from that phone call.
So speaking of therapy and Black men going to therapy, right now in these dating streets, which is a raging dumpster fire, and I refuse to participate.
Damn. Damn.
No, but the
As I look, I see you on the screen there. There's a T-shirt that says "No More Boyfriends."
Okay, there's a story
episode.
behind that. Okay, there's a story behind that, and but I did do it to be kind of, you know.
You had just broke up with somebody?
I hadn't. No,
Oh,
I
okay.
was just wearing it to like be to instigate some shit.
Gotcha.
But actually, the guy on my right or left, I can't tell. His name is Mike Reed. That's actually his brand.
Oh.
And so I was helping my friend promote his brand, but I was also knowing that I was going to be an instigator, because men would be like, "See, that's why that bitch is going to die alone in a house full of cats." I'm literally like, "Do not threaten me with a good motherfucking time."
So why do you hate dick again? What happened?
I do not hate. I don't have any problems with that.
You just don't wanna
Listen,
commit to
stop
it.
trying to interview me,
Okay,
okay? We're
right.
backtracking
Gotcha,
a little bit here. So let's go back to Shook Ones and talk about Black men in therapy. I'm interested to know the response that you got specifically from Black men, because I feel like a lot of them don't feel like there's any space for them to talk openly about the desire to go to therapy, the need for therapy, the stigma that still, you know, comes along with pursuing therapy. And if you listen to, I don't know, any comment section right now in some gender war-y whatever, you will see a bunch of Black women or women in general saying, "Men, please go to therapy. We're begging you to go to therapy." And there still seems to be this collective resistance. So from your perspective, having literally written a book about therapy and about anxiety and about depression, I'm interested to know what the response you received from Black men about this book was.
It was the women first telling me that the men in their life started going to therapy because of the book. So I would literally be out in the street, or book signings, and it would be, you know, moms saying their son started going to therapy because of the book, you know, wives saying their husband started to go because of the book, like aunts telling me their nephew started to go because of the book. And then I started to meet, you know, other great brothers who were in the space, right? Like the Jason Wilsons of the world,
Yes.
and the Dr. J. Barnett's, and, you know, the Elliot Connies, like just meeting these men, you know, who have done the work on themselves and, you know, are now have committed their lives to, you know, helping other people heal. So like I said, it was just this village that was created. And like, I remember during COVID, it was like, it felt like every rapper in the industry was hitting me up, asking me to connect them with some type of therapist.
Really?
Oh my God, 2020, like, I mean, literally. And
yeah.
It was so funny. I won't say no names, but I just remember one in particular was like, "Yo, man, I'm just realizing I got anger issues. And I'm like, bruh, like you are just, like if I told you who the person was, you'd be like, what? You just realizing that you got anger issues? Like we've been watching that from afar collectively as a culture forever. And it's like, but all of these people were looking, for some type of assistance. And there's people, there were rappers that, at least from their music, you could tell they had already done some work on themselves, but they were looking to do even deeper work because COVID had hit so hard. And I think, the reason COVID was such a eye-opening experience for a lot of people is because that was the first time in a long time so many of us were forced to just be still. Because I think we don't realize that staying busy is a response to trauma, right? So a lot of us just want to go and do because we're trying to run from those things that we haven't, dealt with. A lot of them had to sit down for the first time, and sitting down for the first time and really, being forced to look at themselves, they didn't like what they saw.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, you can literally be physically, your body,
That's
imprisoned.
right.
But if you're, if your mind is free, then you are in paradise.
You can't run for yourself.
Exactly, but the same can be said. You can be sitting on a glorious beach at a beautiful resort, but if you're imprisoned up here, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter. Wherever you go, there you are. You can't outrun yourself. You can try and self-medicate as much as you can. You can try and develop, I don't know, codependency, treat people like mattresses or whatever the case is, but eventually you will have to confront yourself.
And it shows how much we all need human connection, right? Because I think about somebody, like Jazz, and I know how Jazz was quarantining, right? Like she's out in LA, she's by herself with her dog, right? And it's just like, that can do something to you. Like, she's a creative. Like, she's the person that's used to being out, being on the scene. She's writing, she's in the mix. She needs human connection to even be able to, tell these stories. So, being still for somebody like her, everybody didn't make it through that.
They didn't.
Everybody did not make it through that.
Yeah, they didn't. And Jazz, her passing, just, to close this up, it was so profound to me.
She changed my whole perspective of suicide.
In what way?
Because Jazz was so intentional about everything. She was so strategic and calculating about, everything. And I mean, there was a lot going on, leading up to her committing suicide. And I remember, watching her Twitter feed.
Same.
And the things she would say on Twitter, right? Like she would be like, I remember one tweet she posted, one thing I know about myself, I would have jumped off the slave ship a long time ago, right? Well, one thing, she said, one thing COVID showed me about me is I would have jumped off the slave ship a long time ago. And another tweet was like, I wonder what my next life is gonna be like, right? So these were things that she was already posting. So, when I got the call that she had, completed suicide, it hurt for sure, but I also was like, she felt like it was her time to go. And I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, like some people I think do make, permanent decisions based off temporary emotions. I think some people know exactly when they're ready to clock out or transition, move on. And I feel like she was one of those people. So it just made me change my perspective of suicide. Like suicide is not just some irrational things people do when they just get upset. Like some people really think about it, think it through, and decide they feel like they don't want to be here anymore.
Think long and hard over the course of many, many, many years.
And who are we to tell them that they're wrong? Like I don't think that we should be judging people who, complete suicide.
I think that I don't think that there's enough. I don't think that we have a thorough understanding of just how much emotional pain can manifest into physicality.
Absolutely.
Think about a broken heart. Think about the first time that you ever had your heart broken, or even when you were a child and, I don't know, your pet died. Think about that experience is probably so visceral that you can go back and remember the feeling. I remember being 6 years old and my kitten died, and I was in physical agony for 2 weeks, praying to God, bring him back. Obviously not a possibility, but I was just recently thinking about emotional pain and when we're younger how much that how powerful it is, and then as you get older, it kind of dulls out a little bit, become a little bit melancholy, maybe some jadedness and cynicism, helps us to weather the storm and whatnot. But that emotional pain, for people who are tortured by severe depression, that emotional pain really kind of stays super intense.
Yeah, and like I said, me and Jazz were super close. So there's a lot of things that I know as far as like, what she was dealing with and things that she was going through. And I think one day we're gonna all wake up in the future and it's gonna be like almost a book pops up on one of these social media sites that she probably set to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want this to post 5 years from now or post 10 years from now. I really feel like that. And we're all gonna get like a better understanding of, where she was in that moment, what she might have been dealing with.
I was also fascinated and could not wait to talk to you about your ayahuasca journey. I have been screaming from rooftops about the effects, positive effects of psilocybin use.
What is that?
Shrooms.
Oh, okay.
Shrooms. But after my mom passed away, I struggled so much. I was in nature because I was back in Canada for several months, and I credit that with part of my healing journey is that I was in a forest every day.
I remember that. You told me you was microdosing then.
So about 2 years in, I started to microdose because I wasn't going to make it. Like the emotional pain, the grief, this severe depression, all of it, it was too much, and I was not going to make it. I kept having visions of how I was going to complete suicide. It was a lot. I had friends come over to my house. They would not leave until they felt like, okay, she's all right. It was a tenuous time in my life. And then Vic Mensa and Kirby from Pierre Moss, both of them encouraged me to try to start microdosing psilocybin, and it really helped. You have to do it intentionally, writing in a journal.
Absolutely.
There's steps to it. You can't just be taking it all willy-nilly. Otherwise, you're just a psychedelic tourist. But taking ayahuasca, that's a commitment. And a lot of our folks are like, that's white people shit. They're not.
I got turned on to it by some black people. And the interesting thing, like when I first heard about
generally speaking, but yeah.
Yeah. When I first heard about it, I think I might have saw Chelsea Handler on a Netflix show or something like that.
Chelsea does.
I think that's what it was.
She
did it, right?
Chelsea does drugs. She went to Peru. She went to go stay in a shaman's village to do ayahuasca. Like that was my favorite episode in that miniseries.
And then I started like you read about Will Smith doing it and stuff like that. And they always say don't do it until it calls you. So I heard about it and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But then I felt like it was like really, really calling me. I didn't do it for like 5 years after I first found out about it. Because I first did it in 2020. What is it? 20? What are we in now? 25?
2025.
So this was 24. When did Usher do the Super Bowl? I don't remember. 24.
Yeah.
Because Kendrick did 25.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was February of 2024. The reason I remember that because I was coming back on the plane watching Usher on the Super Bowl. Okay. So yes, I did it in February of 2024. So maybe like 5 years after hearing about it. And man, it was an incredible experience.
Okay, so you have to set the stage. Who was there? Where were you? Who performed the ceremony?
Gotcha.
All the things.
Yeah, I don't want to say who all was there just because I don't want to, put their business on blast. But my wife was there.
Okay.
And so, we did it together. It was a three-day ceremony. We had the shamans, and everything. It was a fantastic experience. Like if I had to tell anybody to do their first time, do it there. Because I thought about the whole Peru thing too, and in the pre-calls, because it's a whole thing. Like I don't know if people know. It's not like ayahuasca is not something you do recreational. You buy it off the street. Like no, it's a whole thing.
Thank
like,
you.
You're on the phone with the shaman. The shaman is talking to you. You're talking to you about your health. It's a whole diet that you have to do. Like 3 weeks leading up to it. Like you got to eat clean, get all the impurities out your body. And I remember having a conversation with her, and she was like, "Why would you go all the way to Peru?" Like she was like, "It's just the rainforest and everything." Like those are like. Was it Peru?
I feel like it can, add to the experience? Because I mean, you can do ayahuasca in your backyard.
Yes,
you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? But some people really like the whole experience of, vacating their life and everything that they see on a regular basis and having, just kind of go into an environment that's structured around healing. I think it's just kind of like part of the psychology of making that decision.
That's a great point. I will say the place where we were at was somebody's residence, but it feels like that.
Like in New York?
No.
Okay.
We was in California.
Okay,
But
okay.
but it feels like that. It's so disconnected from everything that's going on. Like, it felt like that. And so the beauty of it is every day was a different experience. So, the first night, it was almost like the ayahuasca was, Mother Aya was setting me up a little bit. It was like, okay, everything is fine because everything is fine. That's literally what it said to me. Like, you're going to, basically telling me you're going to be fine this weekend. Like but it was almost like it knows I deal with anxiety. It's like, you're going to be fine. My wife.
This is what the ayahuasca's telling you?
It was telling me this. And also, my wife was having a different experience, and it was good that I was in the space that I was in because I was able to be there for, her a little bit more. But it's also interesting how the ayahuasca will talk to you, because the ayahuasca will be like, you'll be watching somebody and you think they're going through it, but the eye is like, they're fine. Let them go through what they go through. Like, you can't be protector all the time. Like, let them deal with what they're dealing with. Yeah. And it's just like, that was interesting. But then the next night was, man, that's what actually hit me, got the title of the book, because like literally the eye was like, stop lying to yourself and stop volunteering those lies to other people. Like, that's literally what it just kept beating in my head on that Saturday. And, because I had such a pleasant experience on the Friday night, Saturday night, I went super hard. So, you can also decide which dose you're going to take, right? Like, you can take a small shot, you can take a half a shot, you can take a full shot. So I took a half a shot on the first night, full shot on the second night, because I thought I had it together. And that's when it just took me deep. And so I was like, F it, let's take another one. So I took 2 full shots, and it's just like, man, where it took me, man, I think I had more of a breakthrough in that night than I had in like 7, 8 years of therapy.
Wow.
But it's hard to say that because the therapy definitely prepared me for that moment. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't have done all that other work leading up to that plant-based, medicine experience. But I mean, it just, that was the biggest takeaway that came out of that Saturday night. It was like, stop lying to yourself and stop volunteering those lies to other people. And man, it took me through a trip. So, and I don't even like to call it a trip because it's not a trip. It's just an experience. It's literally like if we were sitting in this room and then we did it, and it's like the curtain that exists in this dimension just got pulled back and you get to see everything. Like, oh, wow. So it's like when everybody's experience was over, because it's like a time too, right? That's the other ill thing about it. It's like a time. And it's like the shamans know when everybody, comes out. So you come out and then you share your experiences with the group. For me, I did that, and then I'm sitting there, and it's literally Mother Aya was like, no, lay down. I'm not done with you yet. And it just took me through this whole other journey that I was so happy my wife was there with me for, because she's the only person that I could even like remotely lean into in that moment and just bear it all. Like, it's.
Did you guys talk while it was? Yeah.
Well, yes, I did. Like, especially, like I said, after the group broke up and it was just me and my wife laying there.
No, I mean, did you have the power of speech while you were like, in the throes of it?
Oh yeah, but you don't really.
I don't feel like you want to, though.
You're doing like a lot of, it's a lot of clairvoyance going on.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of telepathy almost, right? Like that's what it feels like. You're seeing so many different things. Like, I'm talking about, I could be in this room with 3 people, and then all of a sudden it'll look like this room is crowded because you're literally seeing like,
ancestors.
Yeah, ancestors, spirits, like, and they're people. It's not even like you're looking like, that person is right there, and it's not hallucinating. It's not tripping. Like, you're fully aware of where you are in that moment. You're fully aware of who you're around. You're fully aware of what you're doing. You can't believe what you're seeing. It's like virtual reality glasses. You know how I describe it? Remember when everybody was doing the Pokemon shit and they was looking through their phone to find Pokemon? That's what life was looking like.
Yeah. I had my own experience not too long ago with bufo.
What was that?
Toad
Toad
venom.
medicine.
Yeah,
Okay.
toad venom. And but also I like the fact that you referred to it as plant medicine.
Mhm.
I think that it is very important for us to start to like reframe how it's discussed. It's not drugs. It can be if you're using it recreationally and
Yeah.
for fun.
And with no intention.
And
Without no
no,
intention.
and I was going to say, and
Yeah.
with no intention, because I was going to ask you, when you knew that this was what you were going to do, what was your specific intention?
My intention, and it's funny because the shaman said that, what's your intention? And my intention literally was to not have one. I just want to, whatever the medicine wanted to show me, I was open. I wasn't going to fight it. Like whatever the medicine wanted to show me, like the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it was going to be, I wanted to see it. And it literally showed me 3 of those different experiences. It showed me the good. It showed me like the really bad. Cause I'm telling you, like everything comes to the surface. Like every single thing comes to the surface. You start questioning all types of stuff, but then you start getting answers like in the moment, like, oh, that's why I did this, and that's why I was like that, and that's why this happened, and that's why I react this way to certain things. So it's just like once you see that, you really can't unsee it. And that's why they also tell you, once you leave from doing, an ayahuasca activity, make sure you have somebody to talk to, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a spiritual leader, whether it's somebody that you can, tell all of these deep, dark secrets. Like, there's things that were coming up for me that I forgot about. Because I don't think we don't realize how much stuff we bury as well, just so we don't ever have to deal with it. And it'll be things that'll pop up when you were 9 and you'll be like, yo, did that really happen? Yo, that actually did happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm a people pleaser. That's why I was a people pleaser in my 30s. That's why, I guess it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, kind of like talk about it very casually and act like, it's just an arbitrary thing to do. But like you said, it is definitely something that you have got to be prepared for. I thought that I was going to go to a shaman's village in Peru in 2018. Yeah, I'm going to go do like ayahuasca. And this is pre, me doing psilocybin and stuff like that. And I look back at how casually I was talking about going to do this very major thing and how much respect I have for it now, to understand that if you bounce around from retreat to retreat doing this and that and this and that, you're not doing it with intentionality. You're doing it to get stoned and high, and I don't know why you're doing it, but it's not for the right reasons, because the integration process that takes place, you're changed forever, and it's
Yes.
There's no going back.
There's no going back. It's a spiritual experience. It's a spiritual awakening. I can be looking at you going through your ayahuasca journey and see things happening to you. I'm talking about like if you told me like I could say, hey, there was a woman, she came up behind you and she, hugged you and she had silver hair and blah, blah. And you'd be like, yo, that was my mom. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not like literally like, yeah. And you'll be like, yo, that was my mom. I saw my mom did come up behind me and hug me. Like, that was the type of experience that you can have if you're in the room with the right people. You can literally see what other people are going through.
Yeah. So you said that the idea for the book came up during this whole experience. And so at one point in the book, you said that you decided to become radically honest with yourself. Subconsciously, I was pandering. I had become a caricature of myself after a certain point, and I wasn't even sure who I was anymore. And that you did a lot of this because you craved attention. Mm-hmm. Has that craving left you for attention?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And it was indirectly
because you want the right attention. Mm-hmm. You don't want just attention for the sake of attention. But I think sometimes, in this business, it's almost impossible not to become a character to yourself. Like I watched somebody do a video yesterday and they were talking about how somebody else is performing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but that's all you do. Like I'm literally like that's all you do.
I feel like we know who this person is.
But I'm just like, like the person has they got a nickname, like they come in with props. Like I'm like, that's what you mm-hmm. do. Like, so it's like, I don't think people are able to just take a step back and look in the mirror and see what's wrong with them. Like most of the time when you step in the mirror, you're looking to see what's right, even if your outfit is garbage. Like your outfit could be garbage, your hair could be garbage, everything could be garbage, but you don't think so. So until you leave the house and everybody else is looking at you like, bro, what is that whack ass fit you got on? You know what I mean? And you can say to yourself like, I don't care, I'm wearing this because I like it. No, you wore it because you thought you was killing them and you thought everybody else was gonna think you was killing them too, but you really not. So I just think it's kind of hard in this business when you get in front of these cameras, when you get in front of these microphones, to not find yourself in some type of performance mode. But I think the people who have real longevity and who have real impact are the ones who are able to strip all of that away and really show up as their true, authentic self.
So when you're having this experience and the source is telling you, stop lying, stop pandering, stop being a caricature of yourself, and just, get honest. I guess I want to know what the mindset was prior to all that even happening. Did you not know how much responsibility you had because your platform was so large, even before the books? Just the fact that you were on the Breakfast Club, as massive as that platform is, it's a global platform. You weren't aware of your sense of responsibility?
Absolutely, because Malcolm X always said that the person who has control of the media controls the minds of the masses. So I definitely was. And I'm not sitting here saying that I wasn't honest. I was very, very honest. But there was just, I feel like there was certain things, especially, and I don't even think it was anything to do with entertainment-wise as much as it was like, when you sit down with a therapist, are you really completely being 100% honest with your therapist? Do you really trust this person that you're talking to? You say you're doing the work, but are you really being radically honest with this, person? Because I don't feel like you can be halfway honest. There's no such thing.
No, you can't.
So,
you can't be halfway honest to your doctor, especially because
you got to tell them the truth.
You got to tell them the truth.
Absolutely.
Because then the result might be, I don't know, death.
Absolutely.
So same with your therapist. It's almost pointless to go and speak to somebody and pay money and then try to manipulate the situation. So did you start, when you went to therapy the first time, did you start off understanding I have to be completely honest, or were you just breadcrumbing the situation?
Definitely selective honesty.
Okay.
And I think after that ayahuasca experience, it was like, I want to be radically honest with people. And you got to be honest about where you are, because that's the other thing, right? You can evolve to a space to where you can look back at the older version of you and say, that doesn't serve me anymore. But if you're in this business and this business is trying to tell you like, nah, man, we want that. But then you looking and you like, but I'm doing so much better over here. Like life is so much greater over here. Like I got so much more opportunity over here. I'm having so much more success over here, but the worldwide nigga net wants you to still be doing the low vibrational nigga shit. And
they
you
sure
like,
do.
That's not where I am no more. So you gotta be really, honest about saying, thank you to that version of me. I appreciate that version of me. I appreciate where it's gotten me, but it's not gonna get me where I'm destined to go. And you're thankful for the experience, but you gotta be honest about, I'm never going back to that. Like if y'all want that, then y'all got to pull up old interviews. You know what I mean? What Jay-Z said, you want the old Jay-Z, buy my old albums. Like that's literally how I feel. Like I'm a grown ass man now. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I've done the work on myself. I'm a, multiple, business owner. Like, I'm not going back to that. And I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm like genuinely happy. I wake up every morning and I'm like excited to go, do what it is that I got to do. Like I'm moving with intention because, I'm being intentional, right? Like, I think some people they wake up in the morning and they just think, how can I get my next hit of attention?
Yes.
I'm not moving looking for attention. I'm moving with intention. It's a difference.
Yeah, attention is a new drug, currency, etc. I say oftentimes to people, this will be a chapter in my book. Be careful how you introduce yourself to the world because the world will never let you forget it.
Oh, never.
Yeah. And
absolutely not.
But you have, your evolution has been, we've witnessed it. you know? But I'm sure that a lot of people really want to like keep you just in the box of who it is they believe you to be. And then that's it. That's it. And when you don't live up to that standard, then they call you hypocrite, and they have all these references for you. Have you made peace with all of that? That the fact that there's going to be people who cannot see your growth, refuse to see your growth, will refuse to acknowledge your growth. I still struggle with that. I'm in a massive transitional phase, career-wise, spiritually, mentally, all the things. And that's one of the things that like I'm still struggling with, is how much people want to keep me as Melyssa from 25 years ago. And I'm like, you're allowed to grow. You're allowed to have that whole process of evolution, but you know, it's difficult to do it in front of everybody, you know, so you've found peace with it.
Yeah, I don't even take it personal, because I think a lot of people that want to keep you where they have this, you know, I guess, vision of you or this idea of you, that says a lot about them and how much they haven't grown and how much they haven't evolved. Because if you've truly grown and you've truly evolved, then you're going to not just recognize that growth and evolution in others, you're going to expect that growth and evolution in other people. You know, Muhammad Ali said the person at 50 who thinks the same way that they did at 20 wasted 30 years of their life. So motherfuckers who out here wasting their life will always hope that you're wasting yours too. And you know, I think about what Tupac said when Tupac said, you know, if you ask 10 different people about me, you're gonna get 10 different opinions. I think that same rule applies today, but a lot of those people's opinions are based on what version they saw of you. Because, you know me for 20 years, right? I've known you for 20 years, so we've known each other and we've seen evolution, but for some people, they don't know us. So all they get is, you know, what they see, you know, in the media, what they see on social media, you know, what they may have heard on radio or saw on television. So think about how many different versions of you right now are currently circulating on social media. Like you can literally look and it'll be a you from 5 years ago, a you from 10 years ago, a you from 15 years ago. We've been around a while. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So a version of me today. So depending on what you saw for the first time, you might be like, I hate that dude. Oh, you know what? I actually like that dude. Yeah. Oh, I respect him. I respect what he said here. I hate what he said here. All of these different versions exist. The only people I truly care about are the people who take the time to know me in my totality. I really care about those people who have been on the journey with me since day one, who can say, oh, I remember when he was in South Carolina. Oh, I remember when he was on Wendy Williams. I remember when he was in Philly. Oh, I remember when he put out his first book. Like those are the people who actually opinions I'll value more than anybody, because they actually have seen the journey in its totality. But you know, I'm not gonna say those people are few and far between, but you're gonna probably run into more people who are just, you know, getting to know you from a very, 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 very small window of your life.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a thing. I want to move on to the Black Effect Network, just because, you know, part of what makes you, you know, a formidable force in this industry and just your business acumen is the fact that you've created this platform for so many creatives to have a mic in front of them and lend a voice and actually contribute to you know, compelling conversations and moving the needle on culture in a positive manner. First of all, what does it take to even get considered to be on the Black Effect Network? Like, what was the starting point there? And then what it's morphed into, because I mean, how many shows do you have on the network now?
Ooh, almost 60.
That's insane.
Yeah, almost 60.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the criteria? What do you?
Well, it's interesting, right? There's this. Well, let's start from the beginning. Yeah. 2020, it's COVID. You know, my deal is up with iHeart, right? Are about to be up. You know, we're in the middle of, you know, just figuring things out. I'm in the middle of trying to figure out what I want to do as well. And I knew that I wanted to have a podcast network. I was already a part owner of the Loudspeaker Network with my man, Combat Jack and Chris Morrow. Yep. And so, you know, Loudspeaker Network was like one of the few networks in the space that was like really putting a push behind like black shows with black hosts, whether it's The Read, whether it was Combat Jack, whether it was, Brilliant Idiots, even though it's me and Andrew, who else? Taxstone when he was home. Angela Rye had her On One podcast. Like it was a lot of us, right? So, a lot of those, especially Taxstone and Angela Rye, I was responsible for, even, having on the network. So that's how I became part owner of Loudspeaker. And so I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I'm looking at Bill Simmons with The Ringer. I'm looking at, Gimlet. I'm looking at, what they're doing at like with the bar stools of the world. And I'm like, yo, how come black people don't have that kind of space? Why don't we have that kind of network? And so my mindset is always, when I see something missing in the marketplace, create it. And so that's what I wanted as part of my, new situation. And, iHeart had the vision to say, you know what? Yeah, we see what it is that you're trying to do, and I want to do it. And it's so funny. There was other spaces, other, companies and networks that saw the vision. Like it's not like I went in there and told them, hey, I want to do the Black Effect. I'm like, this is what I want this network to look like. iHeart was the only one that was like,
that helped you complete the vision. So you had like the idea.
Complete it, but also give me ownership and equity. Not just a vanity play. Not just, hey, we're going to say this is the Charlamagne Tha God network, and, we're going to have these podcasts, but, we got first right of refusal on, whether or not we sign these people to Spotify. It was just, they gave me the equity, they gave me the ownership. And man, it was one of those things where when I first started just reaching out to people, right? Because I was like, I want to partner with some established podcasts, but I also want to launch new podcasts. But it just so happened, everybody I reached out to in 2020, everybody was like, yeah, let's do it.
So everybody said, let's go. So what, they were already packaged up, ready to go? Yeah, so fully functioning turnkey situation.
Yeah, because even like, Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club comes out as a daily podcast, but it wasn't part of a network. It was part of iHeart. It was like, okay, well, let Breakfast Club, Breakfast Club will be the flagship show. So that'll be the podcast that comes out. But then, reach out to people like the 85 South Show and, All the Smoke and, Drink Champs. These are very established, podcasts in the space. So, to be able to partner with them to enable us to go launch like Glasses Malone, No Ceilings, or, at the time, Ebony K. Williams Holding Court, or, Teslin Figaro, Straight Shot, No Chaser, or Just Hilarious, Carefully Records. Like these are all new podcasts. So, there's this misconception that, all we do is partner with established podcasts, but that's not the case. Like it's a very specific model. And the model is, partner with, especially initially, partner with those who already have, a following, and then, help them grow their audio numbers. And then we partner with new creators to help launch their podcast. And it works.
Yeah. You said in the book that the podcasting bar is in hell.
It is.
Yeah. Talk about that.
The podcasting bar is in hell because anybody can do it. But then also, the podcasting bar is high because anybody can do it. I miss the days of the Kid Fury and the Crystals, the Mandy and the Wheezies, these people who didn't have any type of media background whatsoever. They didn't even have any type of celebrity whatsoever. They just felt like they had something to say. And, they got in front of those microphones and said it, and they've become these, podcast stars. Like, I think the last person I can remember seeing like that is somebody like my man Devontae Kyle from the Grits and Eggs podcast. I don't. By the way, I'm just talking because I don't know. Kyle. I don't know his background.
But no, it literally seems like he came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now he's everybody's favorite podcaster.
But I like that.
I do too.
Those are the people that I like. I think that you have, the athletes and the rappers and everybody. They get behind the microphone. That doesn't guarantee a hit.
It does not.
Podcast. No. That's why I tell folks all the time. Like what they be like. What's the formula for having a winning podcast? Number one, you got to have an intention. Meaning that you really are getting in front of the microphone because you have something to say. If you tell me like, oh, I want to make some money.
This is the worst way to do it. No, it's literally like the average span of time before you see a return is like 18 months. It's
probably longer.
I was trying to be like somewhere conservative with that mark, but it's true. Like
because those people don't really have anything to say. If you have a real intention, right, and you really have something to say every week, you can't wait to get in front of that microphone and deliver that intention, to people. and the money aspect, I mean, you can make money in podcasting, but even that is subjective, right? I think that we live in when I say the podcast bar is in hell, because another thing, people lie so much. They lie so much about what it is that they're making, what it is that they're made, what it is that they're being offered. That just fucks up the game, because now, when you sit down and something is presented to you and it's a good deal, you like, nah, I don't want that because such and such just got this many millions of dollars and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, that person's lying to you. And you can't say this person's lying to them, because they're not going to believe you, because they're going to believe, whoever that individual or individuals are. So it's just like, that's why the podcast bar is in hell. But I think it's going to level out, because I think that, you can't ever fake intention, right? Like, if you really got something to say and you got a desire to say it, you're going to get in front of these microphones to do it. And you got to be consistent, because you got to get past those 31 episodes. There's not nobody who's having success in this podcast space right now who hasn't been around for more than 5 years and really, really closer to 10.
Yeah.
Name them. They have been doing their podcast for more than 5 years. I'm talking about once an episode a week or 2 episodes a week for 5, close to 10 years. I mean, putting out a lot of content constantly. Those are the people that are having success. I don't care if they're black. I don't care if they're white. You cannot find me somebody who has not been out for more than 5 or 10 years who's not having success.
You've had Brilliant Idiots for 10 years now.
13.
13 years.
13
I was one of the first guests.
That's right. 13 years.
I've come on a couple of times. Have you seen the show just morph, change, and evolve over those 13 years? You and Andrew have really kind of created your own paths, let's just say. Andrew, you're an interesting guy.
It's my guy, but he's always been an interesting guy. That's why I wanted to do a podcast with him, 13 years ago. So it's like, man, ask how it's changed. I feel like we just grew, but it's interesting we say ask how it's changed, because I like doing Brilliant Idiots because I can just go in there and fuck off. Like it's almost like a safe space to like just be as immature as possible. Like, not that we're trying to be immature. It's just that, how you got that one friend that you wouldn't sit by in class.
Yeah.
Because that y'all just gonna be laughing and cracking up at everything. And that's what I get when I, sit down with Andrew. But that's what I've always felt with Andrew. Like, so that's why I even wanted to do Brilliant Idiots with Andrew 13 years ago. And to watch Andrew become as successful as I always knew he was destined to be was incredible. Like, I always knew Andrew Schultz was going to be in the position that he's in. You can go listen to old podcasts and I'll be like, yo, one day Andrew Schultz is going to be the biggest, stand-up comedian in the world. Like, I literally would say that all the time.
It's interesting, a lot of friendships, relationships, family relationships were severed when Trump came into, the public conversation, into politics, was voted into office now twice. A lot of relationships just kind of fell apart, and Andrew was firmly on that Trump train up until recently. And it's just interesting that it didn't seem to have like any kind of effect on your friendship, especially the fact that he's white and you're black. How did your friendship sustain?
I think because we went through that the first Trump term. Like, that's when we was calling him alt-right Andy. And we did the episode, The Exorcism of alt-right Andy. And that wasn't even really about politics as much as it was about, Andrew, you're a comedian. Like, like I don't want people to look at you as some political, talking head. Like, you kind of forgetting what it is that, you're here to do. And not saying that he couldn't have those political conversations. I'm just saying, I didn't want people to forget that he was a comedian, because that's what it seemed like at that time. Like, you got to think 2016, at that time, it was like people were almost looking at him as like just a strictly some pundit, who's doing this show. Him and Charlamagne are doing this show. So that was more so like, yo, don't forget, what you're here to be. Like, you're a comedian. And I don't know, it just felt weird, like giving somebody the Heisman for their political opinions. Like, why? Even now, that seems strange to me when people are like, "Yo, I'm not gonna talk to none of my family members because they voted for Trump." You don't feel like that about your Uber driver. You don't feel like that about the barista in Starbucks when you walk in that's making your coffee. If we literally had to wear these glasses that say this person's this person's a Republican, this person's a Democrat, so I'm not going to deal with them because of it, we probably wouldn't even be able to function as a society.
Well, I think it might be the fact that, Trump is, just kind of like a blatant racist.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's created so much, divisiveness, and to say the least. I mean, there's a laundry list of things that you can, attribute to Trump, all of them being negative. And so when you see that your friend who is born with a privilege, that being the color of his skin, embracing somebody whose ideologies and policies are in direct contradiction to, your life and liberty, pursuit of happiness, whatever, your rights, autonomy,
Mm-hmm.
etc. That could be taken as a personal affront.
Not to me, because I don't think you should take politics personal. And I think that, there's no purity test in politics because, man, we all had to hold our nose and go vote for Joe Biden. And there's a long laundry list of things I can point to and say could be definitely considered, racist about Joe Biden.
Oh, like
right?
If you don't vote for me, you're not black?
That could be one of them. I wouldn't say, I don't know if that's considered racist as much as that's a sense of entitlement, right? But I can point to things like, the 88 mandatory minimum sentencing. I can point to the, 94 crime bill, right? I can point to, no, actually it was the 86 mandatory minimum sentencing, and it was the 88 crack laws, and then it was the 94 crime bill. You can go look at him in some of those Senate hearings and the way he used to talk about
the congressional
black and brown kids. So it's just like, there's no purity test, when it comes to politics. Some of them are just more, blatant than others. And everybody has the right to be wrong. Like you said, you look at Andrew, he's not afraid to say he might have made the wrong decision. Mm-hmm. He's not afraid to express his regret. He's not afraid to say, hey, man, this isn't what I voted for. And I hate the people who say things like, yeah, that's exactly what you voted for. Hey, that may be true too, but guess what campaigns are all about? Finessing folks. Campaigns are about going out there and selling people a dream. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing Donald Trump knows how to do, he knows how to sell people a dream.
He sure does. He is exceptional at that.
And it's crazy because he's not even a politician, but most people who excel in politics know how to go out there and sell folks a dream. And there's nothing wrong with those people who went out there and voted for Trump. There's nothing wrong with them being wrong. And guess what? It's a shame that we all got to deal with, the consequences of their actions. But that's what America is all about. Mm-hmm. Because, if, and I say if, because I don't know if we're ever going to have a free and fair election ever again. But if somebody else comes into the White House, and let's just say they're a Democrat, we would hope that that person would be a president for all people. Mm-hmm. The biggest gripe with Trump right now is that he's not being a president for all people. And when I say all people, I'm talking race, I'm talking class, I'm talking sexuality, right? Like, it seems like all he's focused on is rich billionaires and making sure that, they get their just due, and everybody else got to suffer because of it. We would hope that, the next person gets in office doesn't have that mindset, and they're going to be, a president for all people, and they are. Mm-hmm. So regardless of how you feel about Trump, because people like to say, that's y'all president. Nah, that's our president too, sadly. So we got to deal with, the repercussions of him, being in office. Mm-hmm. And the people who voted for him and supported him, they got to deal with the repercussions of that bad decision.
So back in 2016, when you said to Andrew that you wanted him to refrain from, expressing any kind of political...
No, not refrain. Mm-hmm. Just don't forget you're a comedian.
Just don't, okay.
That's all.
I mean, but comedians, they have the ability to weave everything, about life into their comedy, specifically politics.
Absolutely. But what I mean is people didn't even know he was a comedian.
Oh, got it. Okay, understood.
There was people who did not know Andrew Schultz did comedy. I know it's hard to believe now, but go back then, there was people who had no idea he even did comedy. They just thought he was, it did bother me when people would say he was racist or he was a undercover white supremacist, and I'm
maybe not. But can I just ask, the aesthetic. It looks like somebody from maybe
He's
about.
just white. he's just a
the
white
mustache
guy.
looks real specific.
Well, that was
And
for a
the
movie.
hair. Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I got
wait,
TNT,
you're
but
schooling me.
But I love this. Listen. I love to see black people profile people. We've been profiled so much that it's interesting to watch us profile other folks. But he's a white guy.
Yeah.
Before that, everybody thought he was just a cool white guy who wear Jordans and be with the black guys. But then you express a couple political opinions and grow your mustache out a little bit. Now people think it's
who would have thunk
hail
it?
Trump. Yeah.
That was definitely what people were thinking and feeling and thinking that he was embracing. That's another reason why people would kind of give him the racist label. Or maybe racist adjacent.
But even so, it's like, it's a political choice. Like, I don't even like being labeled. By the way, they label me all types of stuff. They'll be like, he's an undercover MAGA supporter, but then they'll say he's a Democratic shill. They'll say he's a Kamala fanboy, but then he hates Kamala. It's just like, once again, it all depends on what it is you choose to tune into. I am a person who chooses to critique everything. Because guess what? Whether it's Trump or whether it was going to be a Kamala or a Biden or whoever, that was going to be our president. As an American citizen, I reserve the right to critique them all, especially the ones that I support. That's why when I see people mad about, Joe Rogan or Andrew Schultz or these guys now because they're questioning what this administration is doing, isn't that what we want?
Well, yes. No, we do want there to be a healthy dialogue where you are able to criticize those that you may hold in high regard or that you hope for the best and you want them to perform at their best. Yeah, you should absolutely be able to criticize them, but it just seems like things were just so obvious that it's just like, how are you just kind of catching on now?
Yeah, it depends what algorithm you tuned into.
Yeah.
And the thing I've always said about Trump that's so interesting to me, Trump will tell whoever he's in front of what they want to hear. So you could I can go Google right now, Donald Trump saying no about one thing, but then saying yes about one thing. So you could be arguing with a person and neither one of y'all are wrong because he's just mastered the art of politics where he just tells people
what they want to hear.
What they want to hear. And you can literally go pull up any soundbite to back up whatever it is you believe.
Within the last, I would say, 5 years? No, maybe a little bit more. You really leaned into, for lack of a better phrase, becoming a political pundit. Actually, USA Today called you a political wrecking ball. Do you agree with that?
I don't even know what that means, I guess.
I don't know what it means either,
Yeah,
but it gets the people going. It's provocative. It gets the people going. They wanted to give you this label, but I think it's just the fact that you're no holds barred, that you'll show up somewhere that people least expect you to, like Lara Trump's show, and you understand that there's going to be some kind of critical fallout for you even being there, and
for people who don't listen.
Yeah, and you legit do not care.
I don't care. Optics don't bother me because optics is a very surface level of thinking. Like if all you're doing is looking at optics, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. I like to actually listen to what a person said. I actually like to read more than the headline. I'm not just gonna see Charlamagne on Lara Trump and just chalk it up to see he's. I told you he's undercover MAGA, blah, blah, blah. And, just think about it. If you watched me or saw me appearing on Lara Trump whenever they started to advertise it, you see, that's what I'm talking about. He's MAGA, undercover MAGA. And then the day after my appearance on Lara Trump, President Trump is calling me a low IQ idiot.
Sleazebag.
A racist sleazebag, low IQ idiot. Because of my commentary about him. On Lara Trump show. I don't go places in code switch. I only know how to show up as me. And whatever opinion I have, I don't care who I'm in front of, I'm going to share that opinion. And so being on Fox News, being with Lara Trump, and she asked me what I think of, the job Trump has been doing thus far, what I'm supposed to do and say, I think he's doing fantastic, he's great. No, I'm gonna tell you my truth as I see it. And that truth pissed him off.
So what was the immediate result of ending up in Trump's crosshairs?
Being on the front page of USA Today and them saying I'm a kingmaker.
How'd that feel?
All of this stuff is just
Noise?
thank you, God. It's just noise because my dad told me a long time ago, you're never as good as they say you are and you're never as bad as they say you are. So I literally treat all of it the same. You know what I mean? You know, USA Today calls and they want to do that article, you know, which is funny when those moments happen, right? Because when Trump said that, that's exactly what happens. You start getting all type of phone calls. You know, people want you to come do interviews and they want you to, you know, appear on their shows and they want to do articles, blah, blah, blah. And I'm selective. I'm like, nah, I'm cool. But, you know, USA Today is like, we want to do this article, but we also want to highlight the 5-year anniversary of the Black Effect. And I'm like, oh, okay, now you talking my language, right? So they were able to weave both of those in there. So that's why it's me as well as the president of the Black Effect, Dolly Bishop, in there, and they're talking to Dolly about, you know, the 5-year anniversary of the Black Effect, talking to me about it as well. But then also talking about, you know, the political side of things. And it's funny, you know, you said the last 5 years, my whole career, I've been having conversations with political leaders. I remember being in Philadelphia when I was doing morning radio there in 2009. And at the time, Mayor Nutter was the mayor of Philadelphia. And the front page of the Philadelphia Inquirer said doomsday, because they were about to close all the libraries and the rec centers and cut a bunch of police officers because some budget didn't get passed. And I remember having Mayor Nutter on and, you know, he was like, we're good. The budget got passed. None of that's going to happen. Cool. We had a consultant in town that day. His name was, do I want to say his name? I don't want to say his name because people be suing for the stupidest shit nowadays. But it's like, you know, we had a radio consultant in town. And I remember him saying to me, you know, nobody wants to hear the politics thing. Hey, you know, they rather you interview Beyonce.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's white guy, stupid smuggler. They rather you interview Beyonce. And I remember saying to him, yeah, people would love to hear a Beyonce interview, but you're going to leave here and fly back to wherever the fuck he was from. And what happens in this city doesn't affect you. Look at the front page of this paper. It says doomsday. People were terrified of this budget not passing because all of these things were going to happen. And a city like Philadelphia definitely needs its rec centers open. It definitely needs, you know, police officers on the street. Mayor Nutter came here because he knows the city is listening to this morning show and he wants to tell the city that things are all good. That is what we should want, you know, as a radio station. And he just didn't understand that. And guess what? I've never understood that because I've always understood that, you know, us as human beings are the perfect balance of ratchetness and righteousness. And so, yes, I want to interview politicians. Yes, I want to interview spiritual leaders. Yes, I want to interview authors. And yes, I always have. You can never go back and look at a time I've been on radio where I haven't done those things. I was in Columbia, South Carolina, getting in trouble for airing, you know, an interview I did in 2005 with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was on Wendy Williams' show, you know, bringing people like Dr. Boyce Watkins to Wendy's show to talk about, you know, his books. Like, I've always done that throughout my career. It's just that
you get more recognition for it now just because the platform is so much bigger.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's because the politicians recognize it.
Yeah.
You know, the politicians say like, yo, that guy right there, you know, he can move the needle for you. Like I think that's why people take it a little bit more serious.
You've talked about Republicans and Democrats biggest problem, they have a massive identity crisis. They don't close ranks around each other. They really just kind of like, you know, if anybody ends up with a scandal or whatever, they literally cast them off the island, whereas Republicans, they do not care. The only thing you can't be in Republican land is gay or LGBTQ.
Openly gay.
Openly, exactly.
They sucking dick on the low. Yes, a lot of them.
Yes. We have heard about Grindr getting shut down whenever there happens to be like an RNC or something like that.
That's a fact.
So you've openly criticized Hillary and Kamala basically for being the same thing, having too much decorum, not being as authentic as you knew them to be when the mics were off.
Yeah. Because
Hillary had like hot sauce in her bag and could say motherfucker like better than even Samuel L. Jackson. Kamala had a real streak to her too, but they always were so poised and composed to the detriment of of their constituents and everybody involved. Like anybody who leaned Democrat, we were like, why, whatever, like the respectability politics isn't going to get us anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were openly critical about them. But what's interesting is Stephen A. Smith's comments about Jasmine Crockett, because she is a perfect example of that authentic voice. And she is recognized as being a firebrand. She represents her constituents with all of her passion and her energy and her intelligence. And she was openly mocked and admonished by Stephen A. Smith for exactly what you were hoping
Mm-hmm.
and wishing that Kamala and Hillary would actually do. Is it possible that you're not able to see it through the lens in which women have to operate, because it's just we're forced to have to walk an even finer balance? I feel like a lot of the times men can get away with being provocateurs because, I don't know, I guess there's some kind of association with that and masculinity. So if a woman does it, then it's just like, oh, she's garish, you know what I mean? And people don't want to listen to her or whatever the case is. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I think with Hillary and Kamala Harris, it's interesting because it's not so much that they're women, they're just career politicians, right? And being that they're career politicians, it's kind of hard to unlearn this way that you've been taught to, walk in a room to acquire votes. It's not even just those two as women. Those were just like those were two of the prominent candidates that we've seen over the last decade. It's only been three of them, if you think about it. It's been Hillary, it's been Biden, and it's been, Kamala. So I think in that way, it's just like they're more, career politicians. Jasmine isn't necessarily a career, politician, but Stephen A. is my guy, but I completely disagreed with him on Jasmine Crockett.
It was infuriating.
Yeah, I know. I didn't agree with anything he said in regard to Jasmine Crockett.
I've known Stephen for a really long time, and that was one of the most disappointing things I've ever heard him say. And I'm just like, you are literally on our TVs daily hooting and hollering. Like, seriously, hooting and hollering. And then you tell this woman, this Black woman who is unbelievably educated, and she has this, this passion and this fire, and she's understandably upset because she's a politician she's a congresswoman in Texas. I mean, Christ on a cracker. But you're literally telling her to conform to respectability politics and, and admonishing her for her street rhetoric. And
yeah, especially when you're saying that she should do that for somebody who's like the biggest thug we've ever seen. Like, there's nothing polished about Donald Trump's rhetoric, right? You know what I'm saying?
Zero.
Donald Trump says what the hell he wants. He goes to hell on people. Like, Donald Trump goes to hell on people. So I don't have a problem with, somebody doing the Satan limbo with him. That's fine by me. Like, Jasmine Crockett is actually what the Democrats should be leaning into, because she is a phenomenal messenger. And some people just got it. Like, some people just have a different anointing on them. You don't know why certain people, cause folks to gravitate towards them. To me, it's more than Jasmine Crockett having that moment with Marjorie Taylor Greene when she was like bad bleach body or whatever it is. Like, if you watch her in these congressional meetings, like, she's always on message about something. I was watching her yesterday and she was, just blatant. She was like, yo, Donald Trump is racist and this whole administration is racist and it starts at the top. And she just broke down example after example of why she just said what she said. And you heard them gasp at first, but then she broke down example of why she feels the way she feels. But it was all rooted in how, they just don't care about what's going on with the poor and disenfranchised. They don't care that y'all not getting y'all checks, during the government shutdown. They don't care that the SNAP benefits, are going to be gone on November 1st. They don't care about none of that.
They care about that ballroom.
And just the fact that she was able to articulate that in that 3-minute clip that I saw, and it was so powerful and so provocative, and you understood what the root of her issue was. And she got you by just saying, Donald Trump is racist and this administration is racist and let me tell you why. And then you get into all of the issues. I'm like, yo, you need somebody like Jasmine Crockett. She is the most effective messenger that the Democratic Party has right now. And they need to be using her as a Trojan horse. And you know what? I hate how Democrats treat her.
I do too.
You know, I expect the Republicans to say the things that they say and do the things that they do. But this is what I always say about Jasmine Crockett. Republicans talk about Jasmine Crockett publicly. Democrats talk about her privately.
I don't like that either. Like
I hate it.
We're watching that here in New York with the mayoral race and how so few Democratic leaders have wanted to publicly endorse Mandami.
That's right.
Who is going to win. Well, he's at least the front runner because anything can happen, but he is who the people really want. And it has been embarrassing to watch all of these, leaders of the Democratic Party just kind of wring their hands and hem and haw and just try and maneuver around actually saying the words, no, this would be the best representative for the people, the constituents of New York City. This is probably who they're going to choose, and I am throwing my full weight behind them. I'm literally like, what is the problem?
It's the perfect example of what's wrong with the Democratic Party. You know, the same party that always tells you, vote blue, no matter who, and you know, you got to support your Democratic nominee. You're literally not paying attention to what the people want because you want something different. And if they wanted something different, then they should have, you know, found a candidate to get behind that maybe the people would be into too. But no, all they care about is what the lobbyists care about. All they care about is what their donors care about. They don't care about what the actual people care about. And I mean, the people chose Mandani. Like, are the people going to be right? I don't know. You know, we got to wait and see. You got to wait and see until somebody gets in office to see if, you know, he can do all of the things that he says he's going to do. But let the people either be right or let the people be wrong. But either way, the people made a decision, so you should get behind the people.
Yeah. I want to go back
and also, too, I want to say, Mandani's fantastic because he does the same messaging that I say any politician can win with. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your sexuality is. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your religion is. There's two things you want in this country. You want more money in your pocket, and you want to be able to feel safe.
Yes.
And that's all he's leaning into. Affordability and making people feel safe. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to accomplish those things when he gets in office, I have no idea. But I know that if you campaign on those things and make people believe those things, you will win. Trump did that. Trump made people feel like I'm gonna put more money in your pocket, right? And your financial situation is all fucked up because of these Democrats. You're not safe because of this border, right? And all of these criminals and rapists and everybody else is coming across the border. And I'm going to fix all of this for you. And that's why he won the election.
It's terrifying that that's how easy it was for him to win the election. And yet he has not done any of those things.
Nope.
None of that stuff has happened. So I'm hoping that Mandami actually wins. So let's go back to your evolution. It showed up front and center when a certain guest ended up on the on the Breakfast Club, and you had another viral moment, and that's Dame Dash. Don't we love when Dame Dash comes up there?
Yeah, he's had a couple very memorable conversations with us on Breakfast Club.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversation about this one for so many reasons. One of the things that people were talking about was how exploitative it seemed to have him up there. Because
I didn't see that angle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, he didn't seem well, you know? And it seemed like he just is kind of going through something, maybe some like a little bit of mental anguish or whatever the case is, and he didn't perform at his best up there. And at one point, you know, the tension got really high between the two of you, and he started throwing insults at you laced with homophobia, and you not only handled it with grace. I feel like it was a moment in which you really put a spotlight on something that at one point used to be a flex and now it no longer is. To accuse somebody of being, you know, gay or homosexual or whatever. And you were like, and even if I am, so what? Like, what's your point? why is this meant to be an insult towards me? And I thought that not only showed your evolution, but it also just was a real demarcation in the whole conversation around masculinity and Black masculinity specifically. This goes back to women begging men to go to therapy and fix their issues. But I think that was just, it highlighted so many things. It highlighted a recognition of the old guard.
Yeah. He represents an old model.
Yeah.
I represent a new model.
Yes, exactly. And so that just led to like a lot of conversations around Black masculinity and how outdated the model is in terms of that mode of thinking, that to be fearful of being called or accused of being gay or homosexual or whatever the case is. But you decided to like take a very specific stance of, and if I was.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Like, I mean, it's like, you know, the thing about me is like, what was that going to do?
Yeah.
Like it didn't bother me in no way, shape, or form. It's just like, okay, and it felt like middle school. Like that's the type of stuff you would say in middle school. Like, oh, you know, you're gay. It's like, all right, bro, that's the best you got. Like, you know what I mean? I do wish, the one thing I do wish about that interview, and you know, we did have like an interaction about it throughout the interview, and I was just saying how you haven't evolved in however many years it's been. I kept calling him broke because I knew that would like really bother him, right? Because he's such a superficial person. I wish I would have had a more conversation about him being broken.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's why I wish I would have had more of a conversation. That's why I dropped the ball in that interview. I should have had a conversation with him about being broken, because you know, that's not a 55-year-old grown man. Like, I see a hurt little inner child in there. Like, I see a little boss baby.
Yeah.
Like, not even trying to be funny. Like, I see a little boss baby inside of him. And I think, you know, that little boss baby needs a hug. Like, he needs his diaper change and needs to feel some TLC. I'm serious.
No, I'm laughing because I agree with you. I see this a lot. I see a lot of, you know, arrested development, especially within this, you know, our culture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of arrested development. There is a lot of, you know, inner child trauma, which people think is like a hokey kind of, you know, woo-woo thing to say, but it is a very, very real thing.
It's real.
You talk about your inner child in the book. You talk about, you know, being cognizant of the different versions of yourself that you are reparenting. These are such incredible, you know, topics and just like ideas that I wish more men had an idea about and would embrace.
I think they are. You know what? You need to come to one of my mental wealth expos.
I would love to.
Because I think you would change your stance on, you know, wanting to be with a man.
Well,
I'm serious. No, I'm dead serious. Like my mental wealth expos, I did one, you know, this year. I've done one every year for the last 5 years. This is my 5th annual mental wealth expo. And it's literally like thousands of people coming there just to listen to all of these different psychiatrists and therapists and spiritual leaders. There are a lot of men that are doing the work, and there are a lot of men that are willing, you know, to do the work. And I'm not saying that, you know, women have to help put together a man in any way, shape, or form. But I got a lot of homegirls who say things like, I'm not even dating a man who's not in therapy.
Yeah.
I totally understand that, respect that, and appreciate that. But you have to know that if that man is working on himself and you get with him while he's in that process, that is work in progress. So just like you're gonna have your good days and your bad days, this man is gonna have his good days and his bad days. But you just wanna see that he's willing to do the work, and at least he's attempting to do the work. Don't get with him because he's telling you, yeah, I'll get in therapy, you know.
No.
If you get with me.
No.
Like, no.
That would never happen.
Yeah, you gotta already be doing that work on your own.
And I have like questions, you know, to judge whether or not you're paying attention in your therapy sessions, or if you're just weaponizing, you know, the idea of being in therapy to, like, you know, just get
as you should. Because men, I'm telling you, men and women, humans, let me say humans. Humans don't hurt each other just because. Everybody is projecting. Everybody. Everybody's got some wound or some pain or some hurt that they felt that they haven't dealt with, and they go project that onto other people. That's why I don't get caught up in stuff like road rage, you know what I mean? Or like, you know, I read a story the other day where this young lady held a door for someone and the woman didn't say thank you, so she went behind the woman to get her thank you. They end up in a fist fight. Then the woman ends up pulling out a gun and killing the girl in front of her 20-year-old daughter. And I'm just like, at what point did somebody not say, all right,
it's not worth
this isn't about me holding the door. This isn't about that person not saying thank you. Like, there's something else going on with both of these individuals, right? And they couldn't wait to project that pain on each other. So it's just like, humans aren't naturally just wired to hurt each other. Something happened.
Yeah.
And I think that we got to remember that about each other.
Yeah. I think you talk a lot about our algorithms being very subjective. And we can create these algorithms, and sometimes there's stuff that just kind of gets funneled to us. But I will admit that my algorithm is very specific. There's a lot of cats and dogs in there because for the, you know, just I need the laughter and I need just, you know, the good heartfelt moments. There's a lot of travel because I'm constantly thinking about where I want to go next and what part of the world, part of the globe I need to see. There's a lot of women empowerment stuff. But a lot of times when you do have the women empowerment part of your algorithm, a lot of the other side is going to filter itself in. And that's the gender war-y, you know, masculinity versus femininity, whole rhetoric and stuff like that. And it does start to, you know, kind of like have an effect on you. I guess it's not that I don't believe that there is a huge swath of the male population that is interested in growth and evolution and their mental health. I absolutely believe that. I think that the ones that aren't, I think that the manosphere, red pill nation podcast bros, I think that they are so much louder.
But that's the loud minority a lot of times.
And then when you see the comments, well, not only that, I mean, when you read cases like Giselle Pellicot, the woman in France.
Oh, yeah.
Whose husband was basically renting out her body for about 10 years and drugging her in the process to where she didn't even know what was happening to her. And then this became like this massive case in France, and 51 men saw some kind of level of prosecution, but it was up to 80 men that had participated in this. And they were doctors, lawyers, grandfathers, fathers, brothers. They were all, you know, pillars of society and you know, members of society, professional, et cetera, et cetera.
But they was buying pussy. The problem
they were not buying pussy. They were graping.
But wasn't he selling her? I thought he was her husband or something.
She was unconscious.
Oh,
he was drugging her and renting out her body.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
That was wild. And so when you hear things about that, when you see the swath of men from all walks of life participating in something like that, when you hear about this group chat of like 72,000 men sharing pictures of their wives and girlfriends in an intimate manner and exchanging stories as to how to manipulate women and drug them and take advantage of them. And I mean,
listen, there's some men that you trust to bear more. What was that shit y'all was arguing about? The bear or the man? Whatever. There's some men
if you ran into a strange man or a bear in the woods, who would you choose? 98% of women chose the bear, and men lost their ever-loving minds.
I mean, because it is a very ridiculous thing.
But
I understand why women could feel that.
Here's the thing. If the bear kills me, that's fine. At least he didn't grape me. At least he didn't sexually assault me. At least he didn't like violate my corpse.
But what if that guy is running from the bear too, and the guy's trying to? And
it's entirely possible, and this is I want men to really truly understand why women have no choice but to be fearful. You have 4 daughters.
Absolutely.
I need to know what, and one of them, your oldest is I believe 16, 17.
Let me ask you a question. Have you had more positive experiences with men than negative?
That's an interesting question. I have had extraordinarily fulfilling and have fulfilling platonic relationships with men. Absolutely.
So,
I have had not the greatest personal romantic relationships with men.
so based off that, you know that all men aren't terrible human beings.
I do know that. However, I will say this. You want to know one of the reasons why women watch all that murder, death, kill stuff, all the serial killer stuff? Because we're trying to understand what threat looks like. Because usually it's presented as somebody who's very, very normal. The BTK killer, Dennis Rader, he was a pillar of his community. He was an active member of his church. You know, John Wayne Gacy, same thing. Like the evil.
But why they don't ever do the positive stories? Meaning, like, because all of this, I'm not saying it's not true, because it's definitely true, but propaganda works both ways.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a network that showed us, you know, these great men who did right by women and, you know, protected women and held women down, your perspective wouldn't lean so much to, you know, men ain't shit, I gotta go with the bear.
No, trust me. I place in my algorithm men that I know there's a guy named Will Hitchens online. There is this podcast. It's these 4 young Black boys. I can't remember what the podcast is called right now, but I mean.
Oh, you're talking about
it starts with a J.
Jamming or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. They're from Chicago, I think.
I love them.
Mhm.
I love them because it's just, they take men and brosphere and red pillars to task. And their rhetoric is so respectful towards women, and they just have so much common sense for being so young. So I follow them. I follow Deontay Kyle. I definitely have an algorithm full of men that are, you know, that are allies to women. But I will also find myself in the comment section of certain things, and it's just. It's very polarizing, and it pulls you. And especially, you know, I mean, I've had my own experiences of being around a certain type of a certain group of men who exhibit groupthink, and that groupthink tends to lean very misogynistically. So it has an effect on you, you know, as somebody who's just kind of like absorbing it. Simply just because I'm a woman and I'm the woman in the room kind of thing. It's just.
I listen, are there fuck boys out here? Yes, but I still believe in the circle of trust of humans. And I believe that the shooting percentage when it comes to the circle of trust of humans is still very, very high in spite of all the bullshit. And what do I mean by that? We wake up every day, every single one of us, and we trust that we not gonna go crazy. I don't know none of these people in this room. But one of these motherfuckers could go crazy and fuck up the whole day for everybody. You could go to freaking Dunkin' Donuts and order a coffee, and it's that one person in the back who might decide, you know what, I'm gonna put some fucking, you know,
Arsenic.
fentanyl or arson in her shit. Or you might get in the car with the Uber driver and that person decides to run off the road. My point is, we don't think about that type of stuff. You don't go into Dunkin' Donuts and think somebody's gonna put arson into your fucking drink. You don't order the Uber and jump in the car and think this person's gonna run me off the highway. You don't walk in rooms with perfect strangers and be like, okay, you know, who's gonna be the person that shoots this shit up? So there's a circle of trust that exists amongst humans. And in spite of all of the bullshit, we do pretty good at making sure that all of us are safe and protected. So I can't base everything off, you know, just the bullshit. Now, do I, you know, raise my daughters with that mentality? Yes, but I also let them know to be aware. Just like right now, I'm aware. I wouldn't walk in here with my own shooter if I wasn't aware. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the mentality you have to have. It's the reason we have life insurance. Like, you know, you have to be prepared. You don't want these things to happen, and you're not even expecting these things to happen. You're just, I guess, prepared if they do. But imagine if we had to wake up every day and just not trust anybody.
I mean, that would be really isolating. But
you're kind of doing that with the men.
No. Hold
You
on.
started it off by saying, fuck niggas, get money. That's basically what you said. You was like, I don't want to be with nobody.
No, it's not that. I'll be completely honest. It has nothing to do with me not wanting to be with anybody right now at this particular stage in my life because of this massive career transition and spiritual transition. I'm having what I now understand as a spiritual awakening. And it has been so powerful that I don't think anybody needs to be there for at this moment. I need to be here with myself. And integrating everything that I've learned, in a very short amount of time, especially at the retreat that I went to in Mexico. I'm at a point in my life where so much new information is being downloaded from source. I don't have anything to give to anybody right now because I'm still receiving.
I understand.
And that's literally it. Like, I have hope or a belief that there's the imperfectly perfect one out there for me. Source knows. I don't. I trust that they've got my best interests. But I don't think that I put a whole lot of importance on that. And I'll tell you why. I think that after a certain age, read perimenopause, women start to really take stock of their life. And I think also in this decade of life, the 40s, you really start to think about the meaning of life and also how meaningful your life is. And changes that you want to make, because also you're thinking about legacy and, and just what impact or what what mark you want to leave on people, the world, whatever the case is. But I think what also happens to women at this point in time, because we are conditioned to be such people pleasers, and conditioned to center men. Everything else about our lives is accessory. The goal is to get a man, get claimed by a man. And by the time you hit this decade of life, women start looking around and be like, what did that get me? And not to say that there's not women who are like in very happy relationships and happy marriages and stuff like that. I'm pushing that aside. Let's just say that you're in my particular situation, or let's just say that you've been in a long-term marriage and haven't been happy for a really, really long time, and you think that the best thing would be to split apart. Women are in this decade, we start to really kind of analyze, what does life look like when we decenter men? And I want men to understand that does not mean that we don't love you or want to have you in our lives, but it's just this, it's radical self-acceptance. And the world and society teaches women to never accept yourself, that there's always room for improvement. That's why the self-help section of bookstores are mainly geared towards us. For you guys, it's get rich, get fit, for the most part. But for us, it's like, you're imperfect, change everything.
You know, so crazy. I know so many men that are in their 40s right now who sound just like that. Like literally, like they want they want a wife. Like they want to have kids. Like they're looking at, somebody like myself or somebody like Andrew, and they're like, damn, and I shouldn't even have said that, because it's like, what I'm saying? It's like friends of ours that are like, they want to be married, they want to have kids, they want to have the family. And I know a lot of guys that are like that in this moment. So I think that society would be a better place if men would express that.
I think so too.
You know what I'm saying? If men would talk about how, man, I don't want to be 45 years old, 46, 47 years old and not have a woman and not have a family. Like I want that. I think if men would have that conversation, men and women would stop missing each other. Because trust me, am I judgmental? Yeah, I'm the judgmental person that looks at a man and be like, why you ain't got no kids, bro? Why you ain't married at 40-something years old? Like, why, you know what I'm saying? You 50-something.
But are you okay with the fact that some people this isn't that, it's not that lifetime for marriage and kids?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, I'm the judgmental church lady. I'm just wondering, like, why is that person, why,
Do you think that there's different reasons as to why a woman wouldn't end up married with children and a man not ending up married with children?
A lot of women make the choice, and I can't speak for women. I'm just telling you from what I've heard. A lot of women make the choice because they choose their careers. A lot of women have been scorned, right? They've been with a guy and they thought that this guy was the one, and they thought that they were going to get married, and it didn't work out. And so now it's just like, fuck men for life, right? And then some are just like, I never wanted to. I've heard that's something I've been, hearing Maya say, and I got a couple other women in my life. They're like, I never wanted to get married. I never wanted kids.
You know how much courage it takes a woman to actually admit that out loud?
Mm-hmm.
Society judges the shit out of us for that. But, going back to men and, their wants and their desires and their lack of ability to articulate that, I was having a conversation. I did a panel with 2 Chainz, because he has a movie that is based on his life. It's called Red Clay, a short film.
I'm publishing his book next year too. His book is called The Voice in My Head is God.
Yes. He told me.
Comes out next year.
He told me. And he's just such a great guy. So in the film, there's a really poignant, pivotal moment towards the end of the film where the protagonist and one of the other guys who's his best friend, they share a moment of intimacy where they're hugging. And it's because one of them has just lost his mom, and it's very tragic, but I was struck by the intimacy of that moment and the expression of intimacy. And, I said to the crowd that the first act of violence that the patriarchy commits is not against women, it's against young boys, because it forces them to carve out parts of their humanity because it's seen as feminine. And it's almost like masculinity is not defined by what it means to be a man. It's almost like it's defined by what it means to not be a woman. All of the things that can be seen as feminine are villainized. So you can't acknowledge those parts of yourself. When any indigenous person will tell you that the divine is masculine and feminine and acceptance of both. Those are the healthiest people. Those
are the ingredients that make us.
Exactly.
It's a man and a woman.
Exactly. So I feel like that's part of the problem that men experience later on in life, is just they have this innate, almost like primal desire to want to acknowledge the feminine parts of themselves that they tried to kill off so long ago because society said they had to. And they also understand, in order, like, if they could connect to those parts, they'd probably have an easier time truly connecting with women.
Maybe we shouldn't label those parts. Maybe we shouldn't label a
hug.
I
agree with that.
Maybe we shouldn't label a hug as feminine, you know what I mean? Because I done seen, people die, and, somebody get the news that the person dies, and if whoever's close to you in that moment, that's who arms you're going to fall into. You know what I mean? So I think maybe we should stop labeling things like that.
Well, feminine. It goes back to the whole, accusation of being homosexual from Dame, and me talking about what intimacy is. That intimacy, they didn't slob each other down. They hugged each other. Yeah. And it was...
Slobbing each other down would definitely be gay. But if you did that publicly, clearly you don't care.
Exactly, yeah. But the whole point is, what I've realized is that through this lack of being able to connect to those parts, whatever you want to call them. We'll call them, just for the sake of argument right now, the feminine parts of yourself. You rob yourself of understanding what intimacy actually is. Absolutely. What I have experienced a lot in my life, and I know that a lot of women have experienced this, is men trying to create a false sense of intimacy. The only problem with that is that women are very, very, very good at understanding what intimacy is, because we are intimate with each other. We understand that intimacy is literally like, yo, this ponytail is killing me. I sit down in front of my girl, she takes my ponytail out of my head and then starts to massage my head. And it doesn't mean anything other than that's my friend showing me comfort in an intimate manner, and it's permissible because we're women. And it makes me think, I've thought long and hard. That actually happened like several months ago with one of my girlfriends, and it made me think and feel so sad for men, because society has conditioned you guys to feel like you cannot show any level of intimacy to another human being, whether it be a woman, whether it be a man, whether it be somebody who identifies as non-binary, the gender spectrum, it doesn't matter. But it's just like, that's why a lot of times intimacy is like manufactured, because men don't really kind of understand what it actually means. I
don't think we should use the word intimacy.
I love the word intimacy.
I think intimacy is for men, and women are people who are in a romantic relationship.
No.
I think that connection is what we should be striving for. And I tell you what, like going to the barber is a connection, right? Like you and your barber's cutting your hair, you know, if your barber's doing a great job, he's putting a hot towel on you, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's like some barbers will take the little, this is gonna sound crazy, takes a little vibrating thing and rubs it on your face, like, you know what I mean? Like that's a level of connection. And then you and the barber are talking, you and the barber might have like real intimate conversation. When guys get together and play video games, when they sitting in their house with them headsets on, and it's just them two. That's why Black Mirror was able to make a whole freaking episode called Striking Vipers. That led to gay, but I'm just saying it didn't have to lead to gay. It could have just been those two sharing that connectivity amongst each other. Yo, something like getting in a cipher and passing a blunt back and forth. That's a level of connectivity that men have with each other. Working out, like, you know what I'm saying? You and your homeboy working out, and that's your partner, and you pushing them, you know, to do the best they can in the gym. I think the word we're looking for is connection, connectivity. I don't think men don't have to be intimate with each other. Like, intimate.
I'm learning.
Yeah, intimate is, to me, is when you're in a romantic relationship with somebody. Like,
but I think that that's the thing. I mean, I think that when it comes to, you know, words matter, and our vocabulary has expanded so much just to, you know, in so many different facets of conversation. But I think that there needs to be like an expansion of understanding about that word intimacy in order for, I don't know, for radical change to happen between men and their own sense of radical self-acceptance, improvement within their, you know, group structures, and also their relationships with women.
Our men should be able to admit that we need human connection from other men. Like there's
yes.
we men say we got our man caves, and you know, you and your boys get together to watch a football game and, you know, drink some beer. That's human connection. I mean, you know, those are, I hate that word when you're dealing, but I guess intimate, that is an intimate experience, right? Like if you bring somebody into your man cave, and it's just you and the guy and y'all sitting around watching the game and y'all sharing conversations and y'all feel good, because when you leave, you're like, man, I'm glad I was able to tell my homeboy that, and I'm glad I was able to share that with my homeboy. That is a level of intimacy. I just think that word intimacy, you think about it and you think about romantic relationships. Like, I'm not going around saying, yeah, man, you know, me and my homeboy had an intimate drive the other day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we shared an intimate moment while driving. Like, that's not how we're talking, but I will say we had a connection. Like, I like connecting with my homies.
Yeah.
I think that's the word we looking for.
One of the things I thought to myself about, you know, men and a lack of ability to feel like empathy, or like innately feel it, like it being like an automatic reaction to something, is because a lot of men did not grow up as boys reading fictional books. And I'm not talking about like sci-fi or anything like that, or like, you know, whatever, comic books or maybe even anime. I shouldn't be prejudiced because I didn't read that stuff. But what fictional books teach us is, you know, there's a protagonist, and it teaches us to put ourselves in other people's shoes, walk, you know, through their lives, experience what they're experiencing, even though it's something maybe completely different from what we experience in our own daily lives. And through that, we kind of develop a sense of empathy. Would you say that that's a thing or no?
I don't think it's not a thing. I mean, you know, one of the greatest things my mom told me, because she was an English teacher, so she used to always tell me to read things that didn't pertain to me. And that curiosity that she instilled in me, that caused me to just pick up so much different literature that had nothing to do with me, right? That's what led me to read so much Judy Blume and so much Beverly Cleary, because these stories were about these little white girls and these little white boys. We weren't that, so I would read about these people. But that level of curiosity transcended from literature to just people. And I think when you have conversations, right? Like if I have a conversation with you, like instead of just, and I'm going back to the bear example. If I'm on social media and if I'm looking at these women and they're having a conversation about feeling safer around bears, all right, I need to see what the fuck's going on. Like I need to have a conversation with a woman I know. I don't want to talk to a bot in the comments. If I see a woman I know in these comments and they say they feel safe around a bear, I want to have a conversation with that individual, because then maybe I'll get a better understanding of why women feel this way. And I think that's something that we don't do. We stay in our bubbles, we stay in our communities, and we don't have conversations with people about things that don't necessarily pertain to us. And I think if we did, we'd have more empathy towards everybody.
Yeah. I was recently, did my first Hot and Bothered retreat in the jungles of Mexico.
Wow. How'd that go?
Saw a lot of tarantulas. There was a scorpion in my room. I am a Scorpio, so I kind of felt like that was like, source trying to tell me something. Snakes were there. I mean, it was wonderful. Honestly, it was wonderful. It was transformative. I understand that this is something that is going to be a part of my journey, a part of my brand. There was experiences that I witnessed other people having, girlfriends of mine that I'd invited to participate in this. And I was like, this is what I want for so many people. I want this moment or this experience of, personal evolution, growth, the feeling of being able to finally put the bags down, the emotional baggage and whatever else, to truly understand what it means to let go of what no longer serves you. There's so many phrases that are just like really arbitrary until it smacks you in the face and you experience it and you're like, yo, that hits, And so what also got me thinking was women are easy to attract to go to these kinds of retreats. Men, not so much. And so I started to write, stream of consciousness, just thoughts and stuff like that, observations about men, just trying to figure out how I can create almost like a program, a syllabus, something so that men would find it attractive to want to go for their own, purposes, of healing and stuff like that.
It's good. Talk to me about that, because, that is something that me and a lot of brothers have been talking about, because, Sarah Jakes Roberts has her Woman Evolve. And I've, seen so many different retreats like you just did with Hot and Bothered. And that's something that we were thinking about as men. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's hard to wrap my brain around, even though I know it's necessary and it's just a selfish reason. I like going home to a woman. So if I got to go away somewhere with a weekend with a bunch of guys, even though I know it's for, a great intention and we helping these brothers evolve, at the end of the night, I still need my wife on the resort somewhere so I can go be with her.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because by and large, I don't want to speak for all women, but what I witnessed, that's not the reaction that they had. I think that women we develop such strong bonds with each other that literally, like, we can hear and understand when something is off with our friends, and we rally in a way that I've never witnessed men doing. So one of the things that I wrote, you guys are going to hear my stream of consciousness, said men have a very finite way of interacting with each other. Their bonding rituals seem to be based in limited interests. And a lot of that, and a lot of the conversation and interest revolve around conquest and acquisition. And in that way, I feel like that creates your own limitations. The limitations for yourself and your self-expression, but also the limitation of presenting what the world will then expect from you. That's why men seem to be all up in arms about, like, well, I'm expected to be this provider. I'm expected to be this protector. And I'm like, the vast majority of you are not listening to women, because that's not what they know. That's not, by and large, what women are even looking for. Like, the women of my ilk and the women that I'm listening to, they're like, we've been providing for ourselves for a really long time. I'm looking for partnership. That's the P I'm looking for. I'm looking for that P and that P.
Yeah, I got my homegirl Cuppy, so she says, you can't give me dick, I don't want it. You can't give me money, I don't need it. I want the partnership. But I will add one thing to that. I had to think about when you said conquest and acquisition. The acquisition part, definitely, because men tend to come together for business, right? But man, a lot of times men just want to relax. Like, sometimes you just want to kick it with your homies, have a drink, smoke some weed, play some video games, just kick it and talk. Like, I think a lot of times everybody wants to let their guard down. And the reason I keep saying humans, because I don't think men and women are that far apart on anything. We all just want to let our guard down. And I think that is the most powerful thing any human can provide you, a safe space to just let your guard down. So if you got those homies to where, man, you ain't tripping off nothing, you know this person ain't jealous of you, this person ain't envious of you, you and this person can just talk about, whatever it is that y'all got going on, that is great. You know what I mean? When men provide safe spaces for other men, that is an incredible feeling. So I don't think, it's not always about the conquest or the acquisition. Sometimes we're just looking for safe spaces, to just be cool around each other.
Mm-hmm. How valuable do you think that it is for people to identify what their core values are? One thing that I realized through my own therapeutic journey is one of the exercises was to analyze, well, Melyssa, what are your core values? And I was like, I started thinking to myself, I was like, unless you're like talking to a therapist, nobody really has that kind of conversation with one another. But I think that it's integral to understand, yourself from a foundational aspect. But I also realized that that's the reason why a lot of people just kind of like throw themselves around and just like, kind of like just hit other people, like, just in terms of just not aligning based on core values and beliefs, aligning on more superficial things. So if we were to have that understanding of what our core beliefs were, then we would have a lot more, I don't know, success in life, whatever that looks like for you.
But core values, core beliefs are actions and deeds, not words and lip service. And I think that's where we get it fucked up nowadays. People talk a good game, but like, you can't talk about having integrity. You got to show me. You can't talk about being trustworthy. You got to show me. You can't talk about, loving me. You got to show me that you love yourself. And that's why, a lot of the core values that I have, they come from me observing how people treat others. I always say that, man, if you want to see how somebody's eventually going to treat you, watch how they treat other people. Because eventually it's going to be your turn. And to what you were saying about the superficial aspect of it all, I don't respect people who treat, the CEO different than they treat the custodian. Because you're only treating the CEO, that way because they're the CEO and what they have. I want you to treat the CEO and the custodian with the same amount of respect because they're both humans. That, to me, is a core value in action. Because like I said, I believe in integrity. I believe in trust. I believe in honesty. You can't tell me you're any of those things. You have to show me.
I can sit and talk to you forever. So we're going to have to just do this again, or I'm going to come on Brilliant Idiots or whatever.
Please. Did you finish that list, though?
There's a lot of stuff here, but there's one that I want to ask you specifically about, and then we're going to wrap this up. But I want to see what you do with this question. When my mom passed away, or before she did, on her deathbed, I asked her very arrogantly, Ma, is there anything that you want me to do for you in spirit? And she said, no. She's like, I've had a good life. I'm happy. In that moment, I realized that the pomp and circumstance of my life, being Melyssa Ford, being quote unquote famous, the trappings of having money and I don't know, just the fancy lifestyle, dating famous people, flying by private jet, it all amounted to a hill of beans in comparison to my mom and how simple her life was. She went to Aquafit. She had a book club. She still had a library card. She had things in her life and activities in her life that brought her so much joy. And I realized that with all the pomp and circumstance of my life, I was fucking miserable and suicidal half the time. And it made me really understand I need to pull out a dictionary because I might not know what joy actually is. I don't think I know what joy is. And so I made it a mission to start to examine my life and what it was void of, one of the main things being joy, and trying to find ways to bring joy into my life that didn't necessarily do anything else. It didn't make me money. It didn't make me attractive to anybody else. It just brought me joy. And so part of the questioning as it related to men, I wrote myself this, I think a really interesting question posed to men is, what does joy mean to you, and what does joy actually look like to you? The expression of joy, and does the role of being a masculine man affect how you express joy? They had this moment on social media where Black men were, what were they doing? They were galloping, they were frolicking. I loved that moment on social media where Black men were taking their cameras and frolicking in meadows, because it just was so counterintuitive to the expression of, or if there even was an expression of joy, a visual of what the expression of a Black man experiencing joy looked like. It always seemed to be some kind of like external thing, like looking around at what he's created or attained. But that's not where joy lies. No,
joy to me is safety and service to others. That's what brings me joy. When I'm in spaces where I feel safe, right? And when I'm providing service to others. And that's what I like to see other people doing as well. I like when other people are feeling safe, and when other people are providing spaces of safety, and when I see other people, being of service to others. Like, that is what joy is to me. And it's so interesting you say that, because I've been saying all year long. I remember being at InvestFest, salute to Rashad and Troy, InvestFest Earn Your Leisure. I remember being at my Mental Wealth Expo. Where else was I at recently? I was somewhere else recently. And I was just saying to myself, man, like, I was at, it was something at Black Week. It was something, I forgot what I know the event was Black Week, but I forgot what the actual event was called. But I remember just saying to myself, we are in a time where we really have to be intentional about creating safe spaces for us to feel joy and for us to be educated. Like that's dope. Like, we really have to be intentional about creating those safe spaces where we feel joy and where we feel intentional. I mean, where we feel joy and where we're being educated. And so it's just like, that's what joy is to me. Joy is being in safe spaces where I feel safe, and being where I'm either providing a service or watching other people be of service to others. That's what that's what joy is to me.
I can't think of a perfect way to end the conversation. I think that was incredible.
Good to see you, Machine Gun Melly.
I am so glad that you could stop by Hot and Bothered, my friend.
Absolutely, happy to be here.
Charlamagne Tha God, always opinionated, always unapologetic, and somehow even more intriguing when he lets his guard down. Conversations like this remind me why I love doing Hot and Bothered, because growth can be sexy, honesty can be disarming, and a little tension, well, that's where the magic lies. I'm Melyssa Ford, and this is Hot and Bothered, where we don't shy away from the heat. We lean into it. Until next time, stay curious, stay honest, and stay just a little bit bothered.
Thank you for tuning into Hot and Bothered with Melyssa Ford. Please rate, subscribe, and comment, and share wherever you get your favorite podcasts. This season of Hot and Bothered with Melyssa Ford is hosted, written, and executive produced by me for Forged Path Productions. This season was written and produced by Sebastian Godin, filming and editing done by Freddie Chica, Nicole Benante, the Bassi Group, and Emmanuel Martinez, and executive produced by Rachel DeSalvo.